about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. It's the Vicki McKenna Show, and I've got our friend from the Conservative Caucus, Jim Pfaff, who's been around the block on political organizing a time or two, to join me. And I know, Jim, you're not from Wisconsin. You're not paying attention to Wisconsin. I'm not going to ask you to weigh in on the specifics of the Wisconsin court race, but can I ask you a question as a professional? Here we go. Yeah. Does it make sense on any planet to have elections that are nonpartisan and have only the Republicans behave like they're nonpartisan at an off time around a holiday when no one's paying attention?
The answer to all of that is no, and I would actually go further and say that I believe, and have for many years, that states that have either appointed judges or, as in Wisconsin's case, nonpartisan elections for judges or retention votes for judges, all that should go away. We want partisan elections for judges. You know, the founders actually didn't even set up all these appellate courts and district courts that existed. They left that to Congress to do, and Newt Gingrich has rightly said for a long time Congress needs to reform the judiciary, the federal judiciary. They can't reform the Supreme Court. That's constitutionally created. But the problem with all of this, when you don't have a partisan base on it, it'd be great if we didn't have parties, frankly, in my opinion, but we do. But the nice thing about a partisan election is that you know who you're dealing with. And they're also subject to the people who support that way of thinking in that party. And that is helpful for voters to be able to make clarity about what they're working with. And you didn't have that there. And again, this assertion that you got to run middle of the road. You can't say that you're for anything. You have to be really cautious not to take a stand. You're going to be a judge.
Right.
You're not supposed to take a stand on anything.
Good grief.
Antonin Scalia was taking a stand all the time, publicly and elsewhere, and in his court opinions, that you have to judge based upon the Constitution and the law that's in front of you, not based upon your desire to do something in society. That argument has to be made, and if you're not willing to make that clearly and assert it, then you will have problems.
You know, here's the problem with I'm for the rule of law. When I put the black robe on, that means whatever. That's not what people are interested in. When you're running an election, they want to know what you want to do. They want to know what you want to do, not this fuzzy stuff about principles and all of this. And exactly right. Take a stand. These are political. By their nature, elections are political. And by their nature, elections are partisan. Period. So in Wisconsin, we have these, quote, nonpartisan elections, and the only people who act like they're nonpartisan and non-political are the Republicans. And for three court elections, we've had the floor wiped with us. 3 of them. In the last 3 judicial elections, the Democrats have wiped the floor with us. We don't call them partisan. We don't treat them like partisan elections. We don't go, seek out money. We don't talk about the importance of the court. We don't talk about fighting back on lawfare. What do? I'm going to put the black robe on and all my opinions go out the door. So I'm not going to talk about my opinions. No. Put them in fall, make them partisan, make people I had people tell me that the judicial candidate in Wisconsin, her name was Marie Lazar, they thought she was the liberal candidate because she had put up a billboard about about how she's going to judge an abortion case. Too confusing. People didn't understand it. They thought she was the liberal because the old law in Wisconsin got thrown out, which, bars abortion up to a certain point. They thought she was the liberal because of that messaging in a campaign that was bending over backwards to look like it was nonpartisan. Oh, Jim, I want to, if I could smack people, I would, but it's illegal, so I won't.
Well, by the way, let me just say this. For the rule of law means nothing unless you actually know what the rule of law is, what the purpose of law is. In other words, she doesn't even know what that is. I mean, if you were going to talk about the rule of law,
let me get in front of you for a sec. Her campaign made these decisions. I don't want to bash on the candidate. She's a good person and a good judge. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sure she is. But the point is, if you don't know what the rule of law is, then why assert that you're going to do the rule of law? Because you know what? I think Americans would like to know what you think the rule of law is. They may not fully understand what the rule of law is and should get inspired to understand what is necessary. The purpose of courts is to judge in fairness and in properly according to what the law actually is, and to rebuke any effort, whether it comes into your court or whether it exists in society, to undermine reality in law. And so that should be if you're going to talk rule of law, you should do it on that basis against Democrats who have worked specifically in your courts, but in courts around the country, to just take away the rights of Americans and subject them to these men and women in robes who are trying to order society. I mean, you have to have that argument.
I agree.
People want to know that that's the case.
But here's the thing.
So anyway,
say things bluntly and directly. Our court is not fair. I will make it fair. Our court is rigged. Right. I will unrig it. You actually have to say what you're going to do. We are outcome oriented people. Elections have outcomes, right? A candidate wins. Yeah. A candidate wins. There's an outcome. We're outcome oriented. Elections are meant to be outcome oriented. We get mad when you don't do what you say you're going to do. We get angry about that, but we need to know what you're going to do or nobody's interested. Now, here's another thing, and this is an affliction across the United States, the disarray of established parties. So put aside for a second, I think we should get rid of spring elections, make them all partisan, put them in the fall. The media is never going to give us a break, but that's how you're going to get information about a candidate, is if you put it at election time. But then you've got the parties, and it seems like everywhere they can't raise money. They're walking around, bumping into each other. We're infighting like crazy at a time where if we weren't infighting like crazy, I don't think we would have too high a risk of losing the House. I don't think we would see headlines that say right now the Democrats could win back the United States Senate. If we were actually firing on all cylinders like we're the well-oiled machine that turned out in 2024, then what the media is doing to us wouldn't hit as hard as it does.
You know, the greatest threat to our country, the greatest transformation in our country has taken place in two key areas. And these aren't the exclusive ones, but they're key ones, is our school systems and our courts. And in both cases, Democrats and leftists have understood that when the elections and or appointments of these positions of school board members or judges happens in that quiet space that people don't pay attention to that you described. And that is where they have fundamentally transformed so much of what we are. Right in the face of a Constitution that's out there and very clear. Anyway, everyone that is listening to this that doesn't read the Constitution on some kind of a regular basis, once a year, just do it once a year. You'll find out it's very simple language. Some of it's slightly tricky maybe, but really the thrust of what is being said there and what is intended is very, very clear. In the face of that, we have an education system that is educating socialists, or attempting to, if they, in many cases, in most cases, they're quite successful at it. Socialist mentality, non-liberty mentalities, and then court systems which twist the law because they know, by Democrats mostly, because they know they can't win legislatively. Every Democrat policy, almost every Democrat policy that is advanced in this country was done so in a court of law. Now, you have some exceptions like Obamacare, JFK's Great Society programs. I mean, you have these spikes where they do win, but that's because they had a brief political spike.
Well, I would say this.
Long-term effect.
I would take Obamacare off that list because the Supreme Court made sure we got stuck with that nightmare. Because a court made sure we got stuck with it. Right, they could have. So to your point, though, we got to put aside education because I just don't have enough time. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We never